So thank you very much to be here today in this session. I'm really glad and honored to have this privilege and pleasure to welcome you in this panel that I really hope will be inspiring. The title of the panel is City Spotlight, Showcasing and Assessing Local PCVE Initiative. And it's a very great opportunity. Just in few words, for those who do knows not very well IFUS. IFUS is a network of local authorities, and one of our main mission is to try to promote and facilitate local and regional authority efforts to create safe cities, more safe, more inclusive, and more resilient to different threats and different change and challenges that we are confronted. So our idea is really to use this approach bottom up and to inspiring a collaborative work. We are a in some way an old organization because we have an experience of science more than 35 years old, and we have started. I think it was in around 2010, 2011. So almost 15 almost 15 years ago to work and start to work with city on preventing radicalization leading to violent extremism. We have developed different kind of project and European exchange because we believe that it's very important to put people together around a space where we can co-produce solution. And we are very glad now to be member of the project Indeed, who organized this 2 days conference. And we hope that during this project and during this session, we can give some input in terms of response in order to support the cities and local authority and other stakeholders addressing the preventing and radicalization issue. But why we think that local and regional authority play a central role on preventing nonviolent radicalization, and why we have decided to have this spot today and to share the experience of some cities member of our network, are very engaged on this topic. Because there are many reasons, principally because we know and we believe that in a world that is completely interconnected, like is our world now, there are not frontline and there are not limits for any kind of criminality problem. And so the issue is more transversal, but the effects are more visible and tangible at the local level. And the city, they have this unique capacity. And when I say cities, I say city in sense of the institution with all the municipality who has the legitimacy also to mobilize the different stakeholders, are also the place who is more closer to the different, to the citizen and to the all inhabitants, and is also the actor, the stakeholder, who has this unique capacity to design and implement initiatives that resonate and they respond to the diversity of the community, they represent the diversity of our society. So we think that local authority, they can also engage the work with other stakeholders, and in this sense ensure the sustainability to develop a project in long term. This idea to have a long term vision and to invest in prevention, to invest in a prevention strategy, to invest in prevention action plan, and see through this long-term, medium-term, long-term initiative, how we can also evaluate the impact, the progress, and how we can learn from our experience and try to give the response that are more adapted to the evolution, that is also the evolution of the different challenges that we are confronted in terms of prevention of radicalization. Today, I'm really pleased to open this panel where we have invited some cities really engaged in our network. We have worked for many years with many of you, so it's a real pleasure for me today introduce the city of Strasbourg, the city of Mechlin, and the city of L'Hospitalet, and the city of Liège, of course. They have really developed a remarkable initiative. They have a lot of experience, and they are also confronted to the difficulty to work on this topic and to work in partnership with so various diversity of stakeholders. In this session today, that will be moderated by my colleague Asma, and I will give to you the floor in 1 minute, Asma, because I don't want to take time for just this short introduction. We really would like, but the idea is really to try to emphasize these local initiatives that are focused on community engagement, that are also focused on innovation, and as I say before, this idea of co-production, a collaboration with the different stakeholders. We hope that will be contribute, and I'm sure that will be contribute to give some inspiring solution, and maybe give some input to other cities, other stakeholders, and also try to promote again this idea to produce together and to invest on prevention and thinking had the importance also about how we evaluate and we monitor this kind of different project. So we hope also to have a session interactive. So I really invite all the participants, don't be shy, take the floor or use the chat to make your comment and to react. The idea is, again, learn from each other. We have the chance to have a very, very, very interesting panel of speakers with a lot of knowledge. So there are not a wrong question. It's really a moment to share our knowledge and to try to learn to do better in the future, because I'm sure that we can do this. So I will stop now and give the floor to Asma.
Thank you, Carla, for your remarks. Thank you. So I am Asma, Program Manager at IFUS, and also it's my great pleasure to welcome you to this session. So first of all, the participating cities, as mentioned, we have with us today Strasbourg, presented by Eric Pinceau. We have then Mechlin, represented by Elias Maraha. We have L'Hospitalet, represented by Laia Gonzalez and Lourdes Solder. And we have Liège, represented by Manuel Cameron. And I'm here with you, representing IFUS with Carla. So for today's session, for the agenda, so we finished the opening remarks, and then we have the presentations of the cities, which will be followed up by discussions and question and answer sessions, and then the closing remarks. Before we begin, some few housekeeping notes that I would like to share with you. So each panelist will have specific time for their presentations. For that, I kindly ask our panelists to adhere to the allotted time to ensure that we have ample opportunity for audience engagement. As mentioned, we would like to have this session as much as interactive as possible. Then for questions, we highly value your participation. Following the presentation, we will open the floor for questions. Please feel free to submit your questions through the chat, and we will do our best to address as many as possible. So, without further delay, let's embark with the first presentation from Eric Pinceau, who is the PCVE coordinator at Strasbourg Metropole. Please, Eric, the floor is yours, and I will share your presentation as well.
Okay, thank you very much. Oops. So, I'll keep an eye on the time to make sure I'm not too long. Hello, everybody, and thank you very much for IFUS for the opportunity. So I will say a few words just to give you an idea of how we approach radicalization and violent extremism at the city of Strasbourg. Strasbourg is a city of about 500,000 people in the eastern part of France, near Germany. And we decided in 2015, 2016 to address radicalization and violent extremism. And I will tell you about that. But first, if you go to the next slide, please, I will say a few words about the way that radicalization and violent extremism are approached at the national level. So I will just give you an idea of a context to better understand how the city situates itself in this landscape. In order to understand PCV in France, you have to keep in mind that first, it's still a rather recent new theme issue subject for us, because the first national action plan was adopted in 2014 at a time where several other EU countries already had years of experience in that field. But in France, it's still a rather new, recent subject. We don't have the same experience that some other countries have on the issue. Also, the French approach to PCV is very centralized, which is not surprising because, as you probably know, France is a very centralized country in general, and even more so when it comes to security and prevention issues. So, well, the first institution that are in charge of prevention are state institutions, whether it is at the national level or at the local level. State institutions, the central government is in charge largely of prevention of radicalization and violent extremism. The third point is that our model is rather securitized, again, as compared to other EU and European countries. You see very clearly that security and intelligence agencies play a central role, even more so than in other countries. And the last point is that whereas some other countries decided to deal with all sorts of radicalization of a political, social, religious nature, the French approach to PCV is still aimed specifically at one particular kind of radicalization, which is Islamist or jihadi radicalization. Just to give you an idea, the national communication campaign that started in 2016 was called Stop Jihadism. It wasn't called Stop Radicalization or Stop Extremism. It was called explicitly Stop Jihadism. If you wanna go to the next slide, please. Having said that, as I already said, we decided to work on radicalization around 2015, 2016, following the terrorist attack of January 2015 on Charlie Hebdo. At the spring of 2015, our mayor at the time decided to have a series of public meetings in different parts of a city, in different neighborhoods, to give everybody an opportunity to express himself or herself after the terrorist attack, the dramatic events that we had in January 2015. So we had something like half a dozen public meetings in different parts of the city, and it revealed, on the one hand, a series of shared concerns regarding integration, citizenship, discrimination, stigmatization, education, and also, but not just, radicalization. Radicalization was only one of the topics, but it also revealed a will to take action. We were in such a state of trauma that local actors wanted to take action and play a part in the prevention of radicalization. That, and also the partnership that we already had with the prefecture in security and prevention, led us to the idea that we could have a real interesting division of tasks between the prefecture, which represents the central state at the local level in a global sense. The prefecture is not a local authority as such. It's the body that represents the central state locally, which is a sign of our centralization, obviously. And so we had a partnership for over 10 years, a very strong partnership with the prefecture in everything related to security and prevention. So we already knew each other, we already had some projects, some processes, and we thought that it would be very interesting to have a division of tasks between the prefecture, which was in charge of the security aspect as such, and the city, which would bring a contribution in terms of social cohesion and early prevention. interesting different of tasks between different stakeholders, between different actors. And so after a few months of reflection and thinking and negotiation, that led to first the appointment of a deputy mayor. We were the first city at the time in France to have officially speaking a deputy mayor for the prevention of radicalization, and that led also to the recruitment of a local coordinator, who is yours truly. Next slide, please. On this slide, you see a definition of radicalization, which we particularly like. I'm not going to read it because we all have a definition of radicalization. You know just as well as I do that there are many different definitions out there, but I wanted to put this one on the screen because this is a definition that we found particularly interesting, and also the partnership that we built with our friends from Montreal was really instrumental and crucial in the way we decided to approach radicalization. We have to put credits where it's due. They were a great support in designing a local PCV strategy. So I'm not going to read that definition. You probably already know it. But what I wanted to say, just to give you an idea of how we approach, we definitely decided to focus on the root causes or the breeding ground of radicalization and violent extremism, which means that from the point of view of a city, the focus is very much on primary and secondary prevention, whereas the state is in charge of tertiary prevention. But contrary to some other EU countries, we're not in charge of disengagement and individual intervention. The state is in charge of that, and we contribute to that, but our own local strategy focuses on early stages of prevention and radicalization. And also, we decided to very much develop a local prevention. Oops, sorry. Track of the time.
Vous n'avez aucun rappel concernant appeler Sylvie stratégie sur notre Corinne tu Rivesaltes définition.
Okay, I'm sorry. That is a Siri that is messing up. Okay, where were we? Social cohesion and fundamental rights. We decided explicitly to put our strategy in a social cohesion and human rights framework, which gives you again an idea of how we want to approach things. For us, social cohesion and fundamental rights are really at the center of our local PCV strategy. We decided in our own strategy to address all forms of radicalization and violent extremism. So we address all forms of radical ideology, extremist ideologies, where it is jihadism, far right, far left, identity-based, and single issue radicalization and extremism, and also what we know now as mixed ideologies or salad bar extremism. We want to work and we want to address all these different forms of radicalization and violent extremism. And we decided to include our PCV strategy, to include that in a more global, more general local crime prevention strategy. In the early stage, I have a feeling that many French cities definitely struggle with PCVE because they didn't know basically how to approach it, because it was something that was very new, and they didn't know, they had no idea how to work on that. And we decided to make it clear and just make that a part of something that already exists and that already works, which is our crime prevention strategy. Almost every city in France does have a crime prevention strategy. So instead of trying to invent a new strategy on something we don't fully understand, because radicalization, extremism are such complicated issues, just include that in what already exists, which is your crime prevention strategies, and use the same tools, the same processes, the same people, the same projects that are already in place for crime prevention. Last slide, please, if I'm correct. Having said all that, I gave you an idea of a context. I will say a few words about what we actually do, and you have to keep in mind that apart from all our local strategy, we all, of course, collaborate with state agencies. But I didn't want to put that on the screen because I wanted to focus on what we do ourselves. But there is also the whole part of collaborating with the state, which, of course, is very important too. So in 2016, we designed a first version of our strategy, which has not completely changed since then. You know, the basic elements remained since 2016. So the first part is basically called communication. We don't communicate much to the public because it's very difficult to communicate simply, clearly to the public on radicalization and extremism, but we do communicate a lot from an institutional point of view, and we also communicate in networks. We decided to be active in several networks at the national, European, and international level, basically because good ideas don't come from nowhere. They have to come from somewhere, and the best way to get good ideas is to share practices, and that's basically why we are active members of IFES and especially its national branch, the French Forum. We are members of RAN, and we also are members of another excellent international network, which is the Strong Cities Network, and it's a fantastic asset to develop our own local strategy. The second part is about training and awareness raising. I won't go into details, but the idea is to have to offer training in different formats so that everyone can find something of value. One training program that I want to insist on just for a bit is the Hexagon training program, which also comes from our friends overseas in Canada. It was developed by the Center for Prevention of Radicalization Leading to Violence, the CPRLV, in Montreal. And in my point of view, it is one of the very best training programs out there on radicalization, and especially to develop a culture of collaboration and partnership between different actors, something that is sometimes lacking from other training programs. But we've been using it for years. We still use it on a regular basis. We're going to have a training session tomorrow, and it's a fantastic training program and one of the core elements of our local strategy. The third part, mobilization, is basically about organizing local prevention networks at a very local grassroots level. We want very local actors at the level of neighborhoods to just tackle radicalization the same way they address other issues. We don't want to have specialized PCV networks. That wouldn't make sense. But we want local actors to feel comfortable with radicalization, and we don't want that to be something exceptional, something that they have the impression they can't work on. We just want them to be confident enough to address radicalization from the level of a neighborhood at a very, very early stage. The fourth part, detection and referral, is very simple, nothing extraordinary, but we have an internal referral system just so that our employees, our 7,000 plus employees, city employees, just have someone to talk to if they have some form of concern regarding radicalization and extremism. So again, nothing extraordinary, but of course very important and very useful. And then we share information with state agencies, the police and intelligence. Prevention, of course, we also invested and support actual prevention activities with local stakeholders, or we also have partners at the national level. Prevenet is the name of an excellent national association that works on PCVE, and we also support a local victim association that was created after the 2018 attack on the Christmas market, which is called Des larmes au sourire, from tears to smile. And they do excellent work in terms of testimony and resilience, to put it simply. And the last part, and I think I wasn't too long. Oops, sorry. I'm also 1 minute too long. Victim support. We also decided to play a part in victim support. And again, victim support is first and foremost a responsibility of the state, but we wanted to contribute to that actively, especially in terms of logistics, which is very important, because sometimes and far too often these aspects, logistics, get overlooked. We neglect that because it's not strategic enough. But we realize that especially in the time of crisis, logistics and very concrete aspects are hugely important. They are a decisive factor, and no one is best placed than the city itself to take care of those aspects. Thank you very much for listening to me. And again, oops, sorry, 2 minutes too long.
Thank you, dear Eric. No, it's totally okay. You are almost on time. Thank you for this presentation. It's really on point and gives us directly to the importance of adopting this local strategy, PCVE strategy for cities, and the importance of defining the actions and the communication, the training, the mobilization of all stakeholders of the community, and how to implicate them in designing the actions since the beginning. And then also how to implicate them in the evaluation of the action. And this is my question for you now. How you are working with local communities, with citizens, to maybe evaluate and assess your plan, your strategy, and your actions in PCVE?
The first answer would be very blunt, and that would be we don't evaluate enough. We don't evaluate everything, but you shouldn't be obsessed with evaluation at the same time. Many projects in different public policies hardly get evaluated at all. Whether it is in sport, education, culture, we don't evaluate everything. We want to evaluate more, and that's a good thing. And my advice would be start small. Evaluate what you can, and maybe worry about the rest later. Don't get mad. Don't get obsessed because you can't evaluate everything. Start small. For example, we evaluate every training session because that's easy. We have a questionnaire at the end of a session. We don't evaluate everything, because if you have a questionnaire at the end of a training session, you evaluate what? You evaluate satisfaction. You don't evaluate the impact of a training on professional practices. But a little evaluation is better than no evaluation at all. And when we have an action, for example, we don't evaluate everything from a very scientific, organized point of view. But it's interesting, for example, to have some kind of feedback after a workshop. We have an educational workshop in 2 days, and we will have a feedback after that. It's interesting to have a meeting after the workshop just to have an idea of how it went. What do you get from that? It's qualitative evaluation. You don't have a survey. You don't have numbers and figures to present. But again, a little evaluation is better than no evaluation at all.
Exactly. Evaluation is always essential to assess and improve our interventions. And for that, we are also here. This forum is in the framework of the Indeed project, which is about improving the evaluation capacities and offering resources for practitioners, for policymakers, for cities. So you have the Indeed website, which include we are working on developing groundbreaking resource space. The Indeed Toolkit, it offers a practical, comprehensive knowledge package to design, evaluate PCVE initiatives. So at the end of the project soon, you will have lots of resources and tools that will guide you to evaluate your strategy, your initiatives, your actions. Just to move, then now I will move to the presentation of l'Hospitalet. So please, I invite Laia and Lourdes to share your presentations and your city's experience and insights. Please, I will stop. Hi, Laia. We don't hear you. I think your sound is mute. For other audience and participants, yes.
You hear us?
Yes.
Okay, so sorry because we had some problems with the connection. So in advance, sorry for that. And thank you. Good afternoon to everyone. And thank you for inviting us. I am trying to share our PowerPoint. We are not so specialist on that. So I tried.
Let me know if you need any assistance from my side. And for other participants, please use the chat if you have any questions for Eric, for Laia, and for other cities representatives. We will have later a special discussion session. We hope it will be more interactive.
I think
Is it okay?
You see?
Yes, yes. Now we see it, just to make it in the presentation. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm Laia and she's my colleague Lourdes, and just few insights of the city. We belong to the L'Hospitalet city. It's the second largest city of Catalonia, situated within Barcelona metropolitan area. There are no borders between the two cities, just across the street. It has over...
Sorry, Laia, just one remark, if possible, to put the presentation in display full screen mode. Yeah, because now it's for the PowerPoint. Yeah, we see it, but it's too small. Just to put it full screen to, yes.
Now it's small or it's...
Yes, it's small. It's down in the PowerPoint, yes, like that.
Now? Now it's full screen.
No, we don't see it full screen.
It's full screen here. I'm not sure why. Okay.
Maybe to share the full screen, your full screen.
Yes,
instead of
I
just
shared the full screen, but I don't know why it's not working.
Pues el programa con las tablillas.
Yes.
It's not in the full screen now.
No, maybe if you would like, just you can start like this and send it to me in an email, and I will share it. And
yes. Okay. I'll continue.
Yes, please.
Do you agree? Okay. It has over, as I said, it has over 285,000 people in only 12 kilometers surface area. It's the most densely populated city of the country, and there is a big asymmetry between neighborhoods. There are different industrial zones, different quality of housing types, and there is a big separation, a large separation because of the train rails. So it marks a difference between the northern neighborhoods to the southern neighborhoods that impact on the identity of people who lives in their neighborhoods. We belong to the Mediation Community Center that at the same time belong to the Department for Security and Coexistence of the City Council. Coexistence Department works in coexistent conflict neighborhoods, in families, in schools, in public spaces, special incidents on conflicts between youngsters. We share a lot of projects with the community to promote positive relationships, foster social cohesion, and equal treatment. Our first challenge that we found in the city related to the prevention of violence, radicalization were young gangs or youngster gangs. Between 2008 and 2012, there were a multitude of public spaces, mass fights involving young people between 12 and 20 years old. It generating a big alarm across the city, because we have at the same time 3 murders for this reason. This phenomenon, the youth gangs, force us to equip ourselves with a tool for collaboration with different key actors, social and educational agents, the police, the judicial system, and the community, of course. The experience in this phenomenon allowed us to participate between 2014 and 2016 in the liaison projects led by the EFUS. So thanks to that project, we learn all of our knowledge is thanks to the EFUS and the projects they led. When we participated in the liaison project and learning about the experience of other cities and countries with this Islamic radicalization, what is yes, we had ¿qué año fue los atentados 2011? Los de Madrid? 2004. We had in 2004 we had an attack in Madrid, and it was so hard, so heavy, so hard. I don't know how to say it, but it wasn't a phenomenon that we know across the cities, or maybe in Catalonia, even when it's a place that we have more detentions because of that. But it's not knowing phenomenon. So we learn a lot in these projects, and we generated in these projects a lot of questions and doubts that we decide to share with the community to find out if this phenomenon was a concern in the city. We don't have any idea about that, so we asked to the community, the people who we work every day. So we organize different discussion groups with key actors in the community, members of NGOs, schools, mosques, sports centers, clubs, health, people from different fields, to raise awareness about the phenomenon and how it develops, as well as share the questions we have done during the course of the project. We used the materials of the Quebec project because we thought it was based in human rights and in a positive way, not in a discriminatory way, that it was usually before, some years ago, we are talking about 2016, regional police used some discriminatory items to describe a process of radicalization. So we don't, no estábamos cómodos. We didn't feel comfortable. We didn't feel comfortable with these items, so we put a lot of efforts to find what kind of items are made for us, for this city. So,
Laia, sorry, I will just interrupt. If possible, if you just stop sharing, and I will start from my side.
Yes, I think it's okay?
Just to make it. Yes, now I think yes, I can do it. Yes.
I think it's the 4th page.
Yes, the 4th page. Going there. We are here. Right?
Yes. Thank you. We can pass to the next. We can slides. We can pass the slides. Okay. So what are our surprise that from these working groups arose the need to raise awareness about the phenomenon, as well as obtain tools to prevent it. Although it was not considered an alarm like youth gangs was, they expressed concern about certain speeches, behaviors, and the history of ultra-right or far extreme right-wing, far right-wings groups in specific neighborhoods. And for this reason, we decided to create a core group that is formed with these kind of departments, the community mediation centers, social welfare, youth department, local police and health department. that there are technicians from different fields with direct contact with the public in order to reflect, lead, and propose an approach to the phenomenon. This group defined three main objectives. First one, strengthen the community network. The second one, raise the general public awareness about violent extremism. And third, manage and accompany possible processes of violent radicalization. We have been carried out different activities to respond to these goals during these years, and we highlight these ones. You can share a next slide. In 2017, after the attacks in Barcelona, some of Muslim mothers expressed us the concern about the similarities between their own families and the families of the young perpetrators of that attacks. So we organize workshops on communication and conflict management in the family, inside the family, as well as facilitated a dialogue between these mothers and the founder of the Safe Belgium Association to raise awareness about the phenomenon in order to respond that concern they express. With the participation in the PREPARE project, we work with Mossos d'Esquadra or regional police. We have three levels of government: local, regional, and national. And the regional police have the objective related to, well, it's a mix. They have the objectives related to police and prisons. So we contact with prisons too and create a links and the first circuit or protocol for the return to the city of people who have been in prison for having been convicted of jihadism. In 2019, we also participate in the LOUD project, thanks to we were able to carry out a diagnosis of discrimination in the city and led a campaign on microracism. As you can see, you can find it in YouTube. It's really interesting and it's really funny. And all the process that they created this campaign, it was really grateful and it was really nice. I don't know how to say in English, I'm sorry, but it was a really great experience. These guys, they are from different districts in the city, and they led and they designed, they thought, they organized and carried out this campaign. So it was an amazing project. They have also been carried focus meetings for dialogue on identity, discrimination, and hate speech, among other actions shared with NGOs and other municipal departments. We made a lot of projects related to the first prevention and the second prevention. And can you put the next slide, please, Asma? This is the community dialogue. We try to stay in contact, to keep in contact and work together with minorities like Roman people, Muslim people, that represents 8% of the population in the city. And at the same time, we were doing these activities, but we are putting a lot of effort into designing and carry out a training for municipal technicians in tools to accompany radicalized groups. We're focused on first and second prevention, but we don't have tools to accompany if there are some cases of radicalization. So between 2020, but there was the pandemic and it paralyzed everything, to 2022, 2021, 22, we found some people, some foreign people that help us to train us, to carry out and to accompany these cases. For example, Manuel helped us to us, so we are really grateful with him. And this training to try to accompany was complete with your participation in the commit, the SISKIT tool in 2023. I'll pass to Lourdes.
So our fourth challenge was the multi-agency work to define a multi-level intervention plan. Like Laia said, in 2023, some people with whom we had participated in the project Prepare, contacted us to propose working in cases. So in the current year, we had just begun intervention in cases with 2 people on probation. They were convicted by recruiting and disseminating jihadist propaganda. And also we have been working in the design of the multi-agency group to accompany the release of those people who have been in prison. In this sense, we have built a multi-agency group with technical staff from justice, prison, Mossos d'Esquadra, regional police, social welfare, primary care services, local police, and someone others. From the beginning of this work, our main challenge has been designing a protocol, drafting a protocol document with the validation of the different participating institutions, both at municipal and regional levels. So now we are working on this document that explains the municipal prevention strategy, and also we are working on a protocol that defines the multi-agency work, its objectives, the participants, their roles, and also we are preparing the contracts or documents related to confidentiality, voluntariness, and ethical issues. These documents will provide us an institutional framework for collaboration. And the last challenge, it's far right-wing extremism. The city of Hospitalet has a history related to certain ultra-right or neo-Nazi groups. In fact, the Pejida organization chose this city to hold the only demonstration it held in Spain. And in recent years, the momentum of the extreme right-wing party Vox, which has representation in our municipal council, and the growing social polarization makes this challenge quite worrying. This type of extremism is more socially accepted here in Spain, so it becomes very difficult for us to reach the relationship networks or interaction spaces. And now we are going to talk about present difficulties, no, or obstacles now. We need an institutional and political framework that supports and promotes the strategy. We still don't have it, and to achieve this, we presented a document to the elected members of the municipal government and to the direction board, and they gave their support to the strategy, but without an institutional or public communication. So, and we don't know exactly what should be the best project's communication strategy. The main reason is that there are other city councils developing similar projects here, and neither there isn't a public, national, regional strategy to prevent radicalization. This is the second difficulty, the lack of other national or regional experiences, because also affect affects us because we don't found enough resources to train personnel to work on disengagement or the radicalization. In Spain, we haven't found specialized resources in this area. And the third difficulty.
Yes, please for the time to make it.
Vale, it's
I know it's almost done. Yes.
Vale, very quick. It's the lack of human and financial resources, and the lack of institutionalization of the intervention. We need to formalize the operating agreements between the agencies involved in the strategy and define and deepen into the protocols. And the last one is the existence of 3 levels of police and 4 different security forces, and the lack of trust and communication between them. That's all.
Che t'ha posato
Yes, you want to finish with an optimistic.
Vale.
Yes, it's about learns, I think, regarding the communitarian approach. Yeah.
Okay. I have it then. The communitarian approach for us is very important. Being part of the community, creating community links. It's
crucial. Yes.
It's crucial for us. It identifies us.
The mediation.
Yes, and then the mediation role, yeah.
Yes, or role.
Already, yes. Yes, to address this
strategy.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, indeed, the application of community is crucial for such PCVE initiatives, especially talking about prevention, how to ensure the implication of different stakeholders, and how to work and use the multi-agency collaboration approach. And for that, I forgot to say that all the participating cities today are also participating cities in the iCommit project, in which IFIS is partner, and which just finished, and which is about reinforcing cities' capacities in using the multi-stakeholder approach in addressing PCV in their cities, in the city level. So thank you so much for this presentation. I will let questions and discussion later. And for the time, I will move to the next presentation. So now we will have the city of Mechelen with Elias. Elias, please. I will close the presentation.
Yes, thank you very much. Share screen. Indeed, give me a second. Yes, share. Hi, everybody. Thank you for participating and listening in this project. I'm Elias. I work for the city of Mechelen as head of Department of Social Prevention. Mechelen is a small city situated between Antwerp and Brussels, well known in Belgium. Mechelen is quite small. We have around 80,000 inhabitants, and we can say proudly that we didn't have any foreign terrorist fighter in Mechelen leaving for Syria. Why is that? It's because we invest a lot in our social framework, our social prevention in our communities. And we have actually a framework there that we are having in active. And we say we really have to invest time, money, people, resources in community building. in building resilient communities. We reach out to different kind of communities in Mechelen, religious ones, but also on identity, cultural groups, and so on. We tend to ask them, what do you really need? We go there, we connect with them, and so on. What do you really need to be empowered as a community? And we actually provide them with information and provide them with workshops, with support, financial support for projects in the neighborhoods and so on, to empower them. And the more we actually gain into the community building and empowerment, how more we can work on prevention. Because they start to trust us, and they start to gain some trust in also the institutions of Mechelen. We can actually smuggle some kind of preventive topics towards the groups. We had discussions on addiction, but we also have discussions on radicalization, on alienation, on identity forming, and so on. So that's our main model that we actually believe in why we didn't have any people leaving to be a foreign fighter or so on. Just to get things in perspective, a small city, same amount of inhabitants, only 10 kilometers away from Mechelen, had a lot of people leaving for Syria and so on. So we really tend to believe that our approach, our social approach, is quite effective in working with vulnerable communities. And for us, alienation, we don't talk a lot about radicalization anymore. It's about alienation of people who are actually in a process of losing trust in formal and informal social institutions, because there's a fundamental conflict over one's identity. You're not Belgium enough, or you do not. You cannot have your own opinion or identity in very conservative ways, right-wing ideology, and so on. So it's a fundamental conflict, and is to be perceived as unjust by the people. There's a power relationship in there. The society thinks you're not well enough. Society, a lot of power. The people who are alienated, less powerful. And they cause negative feelings. And actually that identity process comes under pressure. And for us, it's very important to intervene at that moment, so we can actually start to work towards inclusion. So we try to invest to capture the frustrations on community level. We know very well what's happening within the mosques. We know very well what's happening within the Armenian community that have a very conservative view on the Rainbow Society. We know what kind of frustrations youngsters have towards police, and all those kind of things actually tend to lead towards violent extremism. It's not me saying that, it's research. So we can actually reduce the individual alienation. People saying society is not here for me anymore. People saying all the systems that we have in place to help people, they're not good enough. So we try to reduce those individual alienation by having one-on-one outreaches, working intensively with those kind of people. So we can actually reintegrate them in a regular, so we have regular working. People are already there for years, and will be there for the upcoming years. Develop inside of our city. Is it okay?
Yes, I think it's your internet connection. Now it's good.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay. We try to integrate them. We have a regular work and a project-based approach that we actually work on. Let me talk a little bit more on how we approach actually violent extremism and radicalization in Belgium. You have our LVC's, that's a local integrated safety cell. And a local integrated safety cell in each city, you should have one in Belgium, where different kind of actors can come together to discuss individual on a case level. You also have a strategic safety cell, but you also have an operational. But in overview, it is a platform where you can actually discuss individuals who are being subject of concern. The mayor in Vermechelen, we have a mayor there, we have the police there, and we have the city administration at that point. My point of view there is the city-led approach, where my outreaches have a lot of tentacles, tend to feel a lot what's happening in the community, and we get it actually to the safety cell to discuss that on individual basis or only on overview basis. Things that's happening, for example, what's the temperature now between Israel and Palestine, Hamas war? Is that upcoming frustrations? How can we actually work on that and so on? But we also can discuss individual cases that we saw in the field and actually give them to the police and say, maybe we should actually do some more research on that one. And a police-led approach is intelligence. That's their main job, so they can actually build up files and so on with to see whether there's a problem with those individuals' cases, or is it only something more on identity forming and some more radical talks, but not very concerning in safety work. Yeah, of course, the politics are responsible for our safety. So they actually are chair of this kind of safety cells. What defines the Mechelen model more than other cities in Belgium, for example, is that I work very intensively with my information officer at the police. Before a case is actually being put on the safety cell, we have discussed it already a lot of times to see is an intervention for police necessary at this point, or are we still working on the preventive side? So we tend to build up our files very well and very professional there, so we can actually reduce the amount of youngsters being, again, subject of frustration against police. If somebody gets to the safety cell, the next step is that the police officers comes to your door, of course, and do some research on your laptop and cell phone and so on. So we tend to work a lot of preventive in a preventive way before those kind of things happen. So it has to be a very explicit case before we can actually intervene with that one. We also have a flow. I know it's in Dutch, but we have a flow chart where all our social workers, our social partners, civil society organization know when they actually are concerned of somebody, what we do the next way. And we have a scoring tool where we can say, yeah, is it very worrisome or not? So we have that in place, and not only internally, but it's also known externally with our partners and civil society organizations, NGOs, and so on. Just a small slide, just to show you from social inclusion to social isolation. Social isolation tends to be people who are very frustrated. We have different kind of projects. This is only in my team. Different kind of projects working on different kind of level of isolation. So it's just to show you that it's very important for us to have on every field somebody who's actually working with a kind of target group. So we have a multi-agency approach, and at this point, actually, we are thinking about not only looking at it as a radicalization part, but also on double diagnosis, people with mental health issues, and a violent profile. Just to be very frank and very stereotyped, it's not all the case that we have, but somebody who has in a psychosis on. And he has taken cocaine and is very violent at that point. And how can he actually? It can cause some public safety concerns. So we also want to discuss those kind of topics, cases, or in that widened approach of a multi-agency, where we actually can work on violence, not extremism, but some violence in public safety, in public domain. And also in delinquency, we see a lot of links between criminality and youngsters who are actually being recruited and also having some very strict, it's very, I call it paradoxal, but very hard into drugs and so on, and also very hard into religion. So it's very schizophrenic at this moment, but you see that it's also a problem there. At the case tables, we have our local partners, police, social well-being, civil society organization, city-led projects, educators, justice houses. So it's quite a very interesting case table where we can actually discuss cases and also go in depth with their. This is all preventive work again. This is not moment when they get to the safety tables. This is very preventive work to see how we can actually get youngsters back on trail, young adults back on trail, adults back on trail before they actually cause a problem. And we have sessions. Continuous learning is very important. The field of globalism is going very fast. There are conflicts all over the world that tend to have impact. So we give formings to our outreachers every few months on new topics. It's very intensively, but it's very necessary to have that kind of approach also. How do we evaluate our projects? I think it's very important to think about your impact. We're all having an impact-based evaluation model. First of all, we have our EMASCAN. That's also from a project, European project, emascan.eu, where actually different kind of stakeholders can evaluate their process on how can you share information. We were there with the pilot. Now it's in the developed, and now it's actually being refined and being more spread out in Belgium. But I think it's a very interesting tool that every partner can actually write down their evaluation. It's I think 7 domains or so on that they can actually evaluate on. I think it's very important, very strong that we actually do that integrally, but you can also do it part by part. For example, how do you work with caseload? How do you work with information sharing? How do you work with secrecy of profession? So you have different kind of topics where you can actually get the point of view of every stakeholder that actually into a multi-agency approach. That's one. The second one is we have also a tool, SOCPREF it's called. It's developed.
Sorry, Elias, it's just for the time to
Yes.
take it into account. We don't have enough time.
Okay. How much do I have?
1 minute.
1 minute. Okay. Then of course I want to give you the good practices. That's the main thing. We focus more on the parent groups. For us, it's very important to have fathers and mothers integrated, and they actually teach us a lot more now than we teach them about how you can actually be a part of the reintegration of youngsters and so on. We also have a youth projects where we actually get by with the youth, with youngsters. At the right, you see The Shooting. That's a movie made by youngsters very frustrated towards police. And they actually made a movie about those kind of frustrations where we canalized it. And actually, it's quite interesting. Now we have a second one in the making with a different kind of target groups of youngsters, and one in still thinking about it as a brainstorm. And we also had some podcasts on fake news, on disinformation, and so on with youngsters. It was also quite interesting. And the last one that I will show, it is without a sound, so don't think you have to hear something. But we're developing an online resilience program with schools to make youngsters resilient in an online environment, because online threats and online alienation and radicalization is quite active at this moment. So we actually develop a toolbox where youngsters will not be media literacy. That's not our main point, but to be resilient in an online framework and online spaces. Thank you. That's our main thing that I wanted to share with you. maybe one thing I really want to say extra is very small, one sentence is the link between radicalization, violent extremism and psychiatric challenges has to be more on topic and more on point for us to actually work more on that one, because I think it's very important to have that view also. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ilyas. This is really interesting, especially for the practice and all what you mentioned here. For time, I will come back to the question later, but now we will hear from Manuel from the city of Liège. So please, Manuel, I will listen to you and then come back to questions and discussion. Thank you. I will share you. We have it now, so please. Manuel, are you here with us?
Okay, yes. Hello, thank you, Asma. So you have to move the PowerPoint. I can't.
Yes, I will move it. Just let me know when and how, and I will move it.
Okay, thank you. So I try to explain you the local strategy, the PV strategy in Liège. I explain you in a very concrete way. And so in Liège, we are, like you can hear, we are in the French-speaking part of Belgium, and we organize the prevention on 3 levels: educational, situational, and targeted prevention. Okay? And we started some years ago, so we realized this PV work since 2014, and we build an holistic approach. So an holistic approach with the city and the collaboration of the university, the police, schools, the youth sector, intercultural sector. Okay. And we started multi-agency work. So multi-agency work with,
Oops, I don't know why it's like black. I will stop presenting and reshare it again. Okay.
Maybe.
Yes, I will. Yes, we were here. Okay. We were in the multi-agency, yes, consultation.
Okay. And so it's a consultation with the sectors in Liège, and we organize this prevention about the conception of the local strategy. So the objective is to connect the resources and to adjust the relevant actors, as well to share the general information about extremism in the city. And this consultation is led by the mayor of Liège. Okay? 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 Okay.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I change? I
Yes.
change the slide?
Yes, please. So the presentation of this local PVE strategy we have detection work, we organize public awareness, and we realize psychosocial coaching on individuals and sure training for the professionals. Okay. Okay. Now, first, this level of educational prevention with public awareness activities. Okay. Okay. And activities with the objective of to raise the consciousness of the inhabitants in Liège. So with concrete activities like a conference with the former skinhead, a café politique about conspirationism, debate, film and debates with families and young people. Okay. Exhibition about the democracy and the critical mind, and okay, it's not so comfortable. And yes, also very important is this proactive prevention and to do pedagogical projects for the youth. Okay. And we did an animation film by the youth and for the youth called Toru, and we showed this film in the schools. And yes, the interest is because it's the film was realized by youth and for the youth. Okay. Another project with teenagers is Local Voices. It was with FUs, and it was a video clip, and we put the clip online with a good. It was successful with the young people. Another project using art and culture as tool for prevention is the theater show, Nadia, a show in the schools and youth centers. We had 3,000 young spectators, and this project was organized in collaboration with the university. And we were speaking about evaluation, and we did a scientific evaluation with the university, and it was very interesting because this evaluation, the results of this evaluation told that the theater show has an impact about the young people on the representation of the radicalization, but also about the manipulation. So it's really interesting as tool. Okay. So yes, programs on the resilience and building resilience against polarization with a path of democracy and freedom, a campaign called Liégitude, and the last project is Young Cities with a group of young citizens who are involved in activities about resilience and also activities against the polarization and the far right, and against the hate speech as well. Okay. A tool very efficient is sport, and we had some programs oriented PVE with sport, like Start on the Street is a program with street sport with young people in the suburbs of Liège. Also, Fair Play Plus, it was a campaign to promote the fair play in the daily life. Okay. Yes. Second level is the situational prevention with social control. So the objective is to manage the critical information and also to manage the detection of the situation and to manage some cases, individual cases of radicalization through a project called Family Support. Okay. And sure, linked with this situational prevention is very important to organize the training for the professionals. And the last years, we organize a lot of trainings or conference about radicalism, about the case management, about the psychological work, and we had international experts, so it's an input we bring in Liège. Okay. About a lot of topics like conspirationism, about communication online and extremism, about the local PVE policy, about the management of the terrorism. Okay. And finally, yes, the targeted prevention. It's a work we do in collaboration with the university, with the Faculty of Psychology. I think some people here know Fabienne Glovax, and it's a program more about disengagement than de-radicalization. So it's more about disengagement. And we organize the psychosocial coaching of individuals. Okay. Through a program called PSIRAD. And the idea is to develop a tool for the psychosocial coaching of youth involved in radicalism, and also for their families. And the goal is always the social insertion of the youth. And we had a supervision with the focus group, including the police and the youth sector in Liège. Okay. Yes, and sure, very important is this international cooperation to share practices and knowledge and to build bridges. And we are involved in some networks like FUs, and the Strong Cities Network, or the Radicalism Awareness Network of the European Union. Okay. So thank you very much. Merci beaucoup. Voilà. Merci Asma pour le PowerPoint. Thanks.
Thank you. Merci Manuel. Thank you everyone. I will come back to our, yes, here. So thank you everyone. Just as I wrote in the chat, we will have 5 or maybe 10 minutes of delay just for discussion, for questions, and to be able to cover everything. So I'm just trying to reshare our notice. Sorry. No. Yes, now you see me. I'm still new using this platform, so that's why we are trying to manage it well. Yes. So thank you to Manuel and all cities for your presentations. It's very important, very interesting, especially for the practice, for the initiatives. It's important to highlight and to put in advance the sharing of such practice between cities, between practitioners, between local authorities. That's how we make and advance with our initiatives. And to learn from each other. And that's the slogan of EFIS, Cities for Cities. I will go through some questions. Already, I see that some cities are answering to it. We have Leticia. She asked for Maclean about what about radicalization by gaming, which prevention to touch the gamers who could be easy victims of brain watching and radicalization. And already Elias answered. Do you want to say it, Elias, or?
Yeah, we are very active. We have a project. It's called DOPREF, but to be translated SOPREF, Sustainable Online Prevention, where we have an outreacher actually working on how to reach out with youngsters. So we're developing a framework where youth workers can actually be more safe on that one, on online presence, how you can actually react, how you can actually be part of the preventive work in an online environment. We had a Minecraft server being vandalized with swastikas. After 15 minutes, we went online, not by the youngsters, kids who are actually there for our opening for our youth house. But it's still very interesting to have that kind of framework. So we talked a lot with youngsters also on that part. So we engage with them to see what's actually happening in the online environment. And I think gaming is a very unknown platform. Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and Snapchat and so on is all contained because you have one thing, but on an audio-based communication as a gaming platform is quite more fragile to be part of the preventive work there. So it's still a lot of challenges, and I really think we should take that very seriously.
Okay, thank you. I see that we have another new question from Iwana and another remark for other participants. Please feel free to raise your hand so you will be able to speak. So for Iwana, she is asking, she said, thank you for all the presentations. And her question is, when do you start the evaluation process, at the beginning or end of activities? I think it's something that is start from the beginning when you fix the indicators, and then it's through the whole process of the implementation, the design, the follow-up. I think it's something that stay all along the process of the strategy or the initiative implementation. Is it right? Does anyone have any comment or things to add on the evaluation subject?
Yeah, for the EMA scan, it is afterwards. So you already work on it and then you evaluate. That's clear. On SOCPREF, first of all, you have to have your desired impact, and afterwards you will see whether your impact is being met or not, and reevaluate there to keep, improve, or stop some projects.
Exactly. We have Jengena. They have another question for all stakeholders. How can we prevent radicalization leading to violent extremism through digital technology? It's also who wants to maybe to answer to this question.
I have at least a partial answer. I already
Okay.
mentioned in the chat the web worker program. There are several online prevention programs out there. Locally, we have the web workers program, which is not necessarily the best, but it's the one that we have. What I find is interesting is that there is no clear separation between offline prevention and online prevention. And the idea with the web workers program is to empower prevention workers which are in the offline sphere to intervene in the online sphere and to have a sort of continuity between the offline sphere and the online sphere. There is no actual, to say that, no barrier, no border between offline and online. You shouldn't have an offline program on the one end and an online program on the other end. The same activity can be tackled by the same people, but you need a specific methodology to intervene in the online sphere, if that is clear. I'm saying that because we had a discussion recently and someone from the police said we need experts on online prevention. And I don't agree with that. You don't need experts on online prevention. You need prevention workers who are already working on relaxation. You need them to be able to do online the work that they already do offline. But it's not a different world.
Exactly. It's about prevention, how to focus on it, how to engage the community, and another thing, how to work through a multi-agency collaboration approach, because it's not just from one side. Everyone, all the stakeholders should be engaged in this. If there are no further questions, I will maybe go further and share with you an invitation to our next IFUS International Conference, Security, Democracy and Cities, taking place in March 24 in Brussels. To book your places and save the dates. And in addition, if you have any further questions and or comments or any inquiries, please write to me or to Carla for IFUS. And for our panelists and speakers also, we will see how to do our best to answer to your questions. In addition, if you would like to know more about IFUS and our strategic approach for urban security, you are welcome to attend tomorrow at the session number 11, Designing Evidence-Based Policy. Tomorrow it will be at 4. We talk about designing evidence-based local policy in PCDE. So in conclusion, I want to express my gratitude for, I am seeing here some, yes. I want to express our gratitude to all the panelists, the city representatives, for sharing your experience and insights. It's really very important, especially when talking about the importance of the preventive approach, the importance of community engagement, the importance of multi-stakeholder approach, the conceptualization and definition, and how it's always something central to think about it and to talk about what's radicalization, what's polarization, where are we, what's the local policy, and how to integrate the PCVE policy into the global city urban security policy. Also, Lushan, yes, and we invite everyone to participate in the Smart Hub of Indeed. For Indeed, there are different smart hubs in different cities. Please check Indeed website, and you will find there the registration for Indeed Smart Hubs and also different resources for evaluation of PCVE initiatives that are so important and so pertinent and so easy also for everyone, for practitioners, decision makers, NGOs. So please don't feel free to check it. Yes, thank you. So, and on behalf of IFUS, I extend our sincere thanks to you, the audience, the participants, to everyone who has contributed to the success of this session. Thank you very much, and looking forward to meet you again tomorrow in our second session.